Hello, everybody. E here. Welcome back to From the Desk. Today we are tackling some comments, suggestions. What I'm going to be doing is a user by the name of Laertes DD. He gave me a long list of things. I'm going to try and get through as many as possible today. It has to do with how I do what I do. Okay, so right off the bat, he says, do you have fixed writing times, a schedule, so to speak? Yes, I do nowadays. A little background history. I've had 5 back surgeries since 2005, and is every 3 years, basically, I need an emergency surgery so I wouldn't be paralyzed. In 2016, they it was a fusion is what they did. They went in and they fixed it so that my mobility, but before that, I was pretty much bedridden. Up until that point where I was bedridden, I used to write upwards of 12,000 words a day. I wrote my debut novel, Bay's End, in 9 days. I wrote Life After Dane in 12 days. Now, these are just rough drafts. I'm not talking about, the other work that went into it. It's just me telling myself the story. Like I said in the last video, rough drafts are you telling yourself the story. First drafts is you trying to make sure that everything makes sense and mold that. But we'll get into more of the technical aspects of it. I want to get through his list first. So nowadays, my routine is, back then I used to just write all day. I'd go out and smoke. I no longer smoke either. I'd go out and smoke and take 10, 15-minute breaks, and I'd come back and just start working again. And I worked like a madman. These days, I have to parcel my time better. I don't even know that's the right word. Probably not. But I have to, I get up in the morning, I have my coffee, I watch Good Mythical Morning. He also asked, do you have any rituals? So yes, I do have, that ties into the first question. So the first one is a schedule. I get up every morning around between 5 or 7. I let myself wake up. I cannot stand alarm clocks. I hate them. They're jarring. They ruin my day. And honestly, they ruin my creativity because I get up in a bad mood. I don't want to do anything. So I let myself naturally wake up between 5 and 7. Sometimes I sleep over. Sometimes I wake up way early, like 3, 4. 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. So I will get up. I will have coffee. Just one tall mug of coffee. It's about yay tall. And then I will watch Good Mythical Morning. And then I will go out to work. I will work until roughly my butt starts hurting. The surgery that I had is right at my coccyx, right at my tailbone. So once that starts throbbing, like a toothache, I go inside. And I lay down and I read. And that's it for the day. I don't push myself too much, but that's what I do. I normally get anywhere between 2,000 and 4,000 words done. I've always been a very fast writer. And my rough drafts are garbage. I'm going to tell you that right now. If you saw one of my rough drafts, like Bay's End, there's more red than there is white and black on the paper, from where the editor just completely destroyed the book, and then I had to rebuild it. So that's my schedule, and that's my ritual. I get up every morning, I have coffee. I don't drink coffee while I'm working either. I only drink water. That's why the bottles of water are out here. And a little insight into me, that's all I drink is coffee and water, unless I'm doing these at nasty videos for the show. Next up, say, do you warm up to get into the writing process, or do you start right away? I don't warm up, but you can look at a rough draft. Every rough draft that you do, every one of them is a warm up. Basically, you're just throwing words at a screen and telling that story. That's what I do. Another thing is, none of this stuff, I don't believe any of this stuff is going to work for anybody else. It might, but everybody needs to find their own routine. Once you get into that routine, I don't want you, what I'm trying to say is, I don't want you to emulate me. I'm not a role model. I don't know anybody else who gets up, has a cup of coffee, watches Good Mythical More, and goes out to work. Goes out to write. Is there some out there? Probably, but I don't personally know them. I can't say that's worked for anybody else, so I can't say it's going to work for you. The thing that you have to build your, whatever works for you to get your butt out and working. Sorry, I actually go out. I leave the house and walk across my yard to the studio or office, whatever you want to call this place. But you have to find some way of getting your butt in the chair every single day. That's the only way you're going to build the habit. That's the only way you're going to beat writer's block. And my number one fix for writer's block is simple. Just write. Sit down and start writing something. I don't care if it's a journal entry, a diary, a blog post, a review, just you talking to yourself. Get words down and your brain will take over. I don't know anybody that doesn't work for, other than people who just refuse to do it. It's like, oh, that doesn't work for me. Okay, fine. It doesn't work for you, then don't do it. I mean, I can't force you to do anything. Let's see here. So, warming up, no, not really. I just sit down and I start writing. He says that, or do you start straight away? Yes, I do. Do you write outlines, or do you just start writing, or a mixture of both? See, back in the day when I was writing 10 to 12,000 words a day, I didn't outline whatsoever, because I get all my thoughts, literally all of my thoughts for that day would be out on the page. Whether it's all in one project, several projects, that's how it went. The other thing of note is afterward, of course, I couldn't write as long anymore. I went from 10 to 12,000 words a day all the way down to 2 to 4,000 words a day. So I had to start, well, here. Sorry, my elbow all up in your face. I use legal pads and whatnot to write down. I always have one by the bed, and that way I can jot down any of that stuff. But I only do my serious writing in the morning. Next, do you write in a straight order, or do you jump back and forth? As you might know, John Irving claims to start his novels from the end. From what I understand, he only writes the last line, and then I might be wrong. I don't know. I'm not a Johnny Irving expert by any means. In fact, I haven't even read all of his books yet. But John Irving writes the very last. He has to have the last sentence in place before he moves on. I do know that about him. Do I write in a straight order? That honestly all depends on the project. The most recent book that I finished, my final draft before. Well, no, sorry, it was a second draft that is now in beta reading. Everything is horrible now. The book jumps back and forth. Every single chapter. One in present, one in past, one in present, one in past. I wrote the entire present section of it, and then I went back and wrote all the past parts, and then I shuffled them all together. I've never done that before. Life After Dane is written like that, but I wrote it every single, I jumped back and forth. So, I mean, it all depends, and that's what you're going to find when you sit down and write a book, or a story, or a novella, whatever you're writing. Let the story lead the way. If you ever find yourself bumping up against a wall, change what you're doing. Whether or not you have to go and start a short story, work on another project. And then the last one, how do you deal with spontaneous ideas? I do have the notebook, but there's something that Laertes says down here. He says, or do you see it like Stephen King, who said something along the lines, if you have to write it down to remember it, it's probably not worth remembering. The note there is, yes, I will agree with that, because I have never forgotten an idea that made it all the way that I finished. I never forgot an idea that all the ideas, like all of my novels, all of my short stories that I actually finished, that idea lingered without my notebooks. But another thing is, I'm gonna forget dialogue I want to write down, things like that. That's what's great for the notes. So, as far as ideas, no, they linger. They stay with you. The good ones do. So I do have a list of titles that I'm like, ooh, that's cool. I want to catch that. Last but not least, I want to throw this out there just as kind of like, I envision this not as a learning tool for other writers, this show. I envision this kind of as a writing vlog, showing you a piece of my life and how I do what I do. This morning it is 9:51 a.m. as I'm wrapping up this video. It is March 8, 2018. I am actively working on the next draft of No Home for Boys, which is the final book in the Bay's End series, All Things Lead to the End. I have Maiden done and marinating. That means it's sitting off in cyberspace somewhere, and I'm forgetting about it while I work on a new book that's untitled. So I'm writing one, I have one that I'm editing, and I have one marinating. That's how I work. That's how I always work. So, if you have any questions, I would be more than happy to answer them down there in the doobly-doo. But until next time, I have been E, you have been you, and this has been From the Desk. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.